What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. It's still Black History Month. I don't know if you know that or not, which means I'm still trying to review movies that uh, have a theme or cast or director or something that makes sense to be honored in this month. And also have audio description. That's important to me. So, because I'm a blind film critic, and blindness doesn't have a specific race or ethnicity to it. So, in case you happen to be blind and black, you deserve to have audio description for the films that you would want to watch too. I'm just the one with the platform, so it's me, and this is Just Mercy. It's actually my first time watching this movie, so as I get into this, click like and subscribe because we're going to talk about Just Mercy and audio description and all that good stuff. And while everybody else is running away from DEI, I would love for us to run towards it. That's what, or toward it, as some would say. It's directed by Dustin Daniel Cretton, who is actually an Asian American filmmaker. He is best known for films like Short Term 12 and Shang-Chi and Legend of the 12 Rings. In between those two films, he directed this. So I think he's, looking at his body of work, I would say he's doing pretty solid stuff thus far. I'm hopeful that he will continue to offer great movies in cinema. I like Just Mercy. Just Mercy is a film that seems to be one of those things that the audience likes more than critics. And I don't really know why. Is it because it's predictable? Is it like, did critics find it too predictable? I have no idea. But like when you look at audience scores for this movie versus like the Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes score, it always leans far more in the favor of audiences think that this is great cinema versus critics who are like, nah, I don't know, it was all right. It was not better than all right. I thought this movie was great. I was I think a better Oscar campaign for this movie easily could have gotten Michael B. Jordan and or Jamie Foxx to an Oscar nomination. Like, I don't know why not. Just really, I gotta say, even Tim Blake Nelson, who's in this in a supporting part, it's hard to say that he would have gotten a nomination over Jamie Foxx, but he maybe, because Jamie's already been nominated and won an Oscar before. Tim's never been nominated. It's the kind of thing where you look at it sort of like The Fabelmans, where you had, it felt like from the beginning, it was going to be Paul Dano, and then it ended up being Judd Hirsch. It could be something like that, where it feels like Jamie Foxx, and then lo and behold, it ends up being Tim Blake Nelson. So, I wouldn't have been mad at it. I would have been, especially if we could also bring along Michael B. Jordan, who has yet to be nominated for an Academy Award, and feels like somebody who will be. Like, it feels like it's an inevitability for the kinds of roles that he's choosing. He keeps hovering around great directors and working with top talent. I think it's the kind of thing that, unless he just completely goes in the wrong direction down the road, he's on track. Sadly, Tim Blake Nelson is just a character actor who gets stuck in roles that never go anywhere, never get Oscar nominations. When he gets a lead role in like Old Henry, it never gets anything off the ground. So, he's also in Captain America Brave New World, which is just, the movie could be better, but the use of Tim Blake Nelson in that movie is egregious, in so much that there's no warning that we're going to be like reviving a 17-year-old character who's been MCU for 17 years, and we kind of forgot about it. Anyway, so back to Just Mercy, which is based on a true story. Brian Richardson, I'm pretty sure I got that right, wrote a book. He's also a producer on the movie. and he is a lawyer who sort of sees this sees problem and injustice, and he creates this little legal clinic that works on providing uh, people in Alabama with accurate legal representation, despite all odds. It's He faces a lot of that good old boy mentality, aka racism, throughout the whole movie. And he's in a lot of scary scenes. There's a lot of scenes that just pissed me off. I was like, "Fuck you, man! Fuck these guys!" like, and the thing is, you're like, "Well, it's just a movie," and it's like, "Nah, you know, somebody went through this at some point. This shit has been pulled before. Like, this is a real thing, you know." Just pulling somebody over on the side of the road to scare them and then leaving them there, you know, like just to like send them a message, you know, like we're the cops, we can do what we want, and then they wonder why. Well, I don't know why we're not trusted more. It's like, well, because some of you have abused that power, and the rest of you are not willing to acknowledge that. So, as I guess the spoiler alert, as this is based on a true story, so you could literally just Google just Mercy or Brian or Johnny D, who is the character that Jamie Foxx plays, because these are all just real people, and this thing actually happened. Um, at the end of the thing, you're reminded that the sheriff of this county where all this racist shit happened, even after the fact that Brian came in and started proving that he was throwing all these men in jail and coercing fake statements from people. Dude got reelected 6 times. 6 fucking times, man. Like, he was a sheriff for a while, even after the fact. Like, and this is the thing that we have this debate about even nowadays, where it's like, well, not everybody who is this is also racist, or who votes for this is racist. Not everybody who, and it's like, but if you sit back and you watch the person who is that doing that thing, and you're okay with that, it's like, well, then how is that person who's doing those horrible things, how are they supported? How are they being given a platform to do that? How are they in a job that would matter for them to be able to do that? How are they in a job that protects them from being arrested by anybody else, because there's nobody else above the sheriff in that county to be able to do anything about it, you know? When you empower racism, therein you are a racist. That is your choice. That's the choice that you make. It's a tough call to make, even during Black History Month. I hate to say it, but you know, fuck Kanye. That's racism. You know, you can't just, if you're gonna continue to listen to music and watch him open up a store that leads just to a swastika T-shirt, you are supporting racism. So whoever keeps voting for this fucking sheriff in this movie, you're racist. I don't really care. Or it's not open for debate. That's just who you are. It is what you are. You just go to bed at night trying to claim that you're not, but you know what you're voting for. You know who you're picking. So the most frustrating thing is that this dude goes on and on throughout, you know, 6 more years of 6 more terms of sheriff, even though you're like, what the, shouldn't this be blatantly, shouldn't he be easily able to be dethroned in this county by literally anybody? That's what I took away from this film. And I think the rest of it is just, it's a pretty typical legal drama. Feels like anything that could have been written by John Grisham. So I think that's probably why critics didn't throw too many awards at it. But it just means we see, the problem is when you see the story and you see it retold and recounted, and you keep hearing the words based on a true story, it's like, Jesus Christ, man, how many true stories were there? Doesn't that bother you? Like, when you keep seeing stories like this and you're like, oh, this one's based on a true story. Wait a minute, is this a different true story? Is this a different black man that was wronged in the South? How many of these are there? A lot. There are a lot of these. There are a lot of these. And shockingly, most of them take place in Alabama. So, Yeah, what seems to be also sort of an anchor for Black culture in terms of everything from Tuskegee to, let's be honest, Birmingham. It's also seems to be the most dangerous place in America to be Black. A lot of times, or at least throughout large chunks of history. It is also known for Selma. It's also known for Medgar Evers. It's also known for, so I mean, there are many things in many places and other things that have happened in Alabama throughout the years, and people who have been killed, and this is just one more story that's added to that pile, and it's being told in a time frame that is a little bit more modern. We're talking about crime and a lawyer. This is like 80s, 90s. This isn't like pre civil rights movement. This isn't like the 1930s. We, Brian's going in there at a time when we should have a better grip on things. We just don't. Uh, we like to blame uh, people for their own uh, struggles, their own problems, their own poorness, whatever it is. I love that part is something that comes into play too, a lot in the speeches that Michael B. Jordan gives us Brian, about that our country is best represented by how it treats the least of us. And I'm like, fuck yeah, man. Dude, I feel that's so hard as somebody who walked around oblivious to my privilege and then gained a disability. And I'm like, wait a minute. The world's totally different. Let me try to tell everybody else, oh, they don't want to know that. They would rather just pretend, and oh, they'd rather like kill DEI. That's what they'd like to do. They'd rather just, I didn't plan on this. This is not something I chose. I didn't do this to myself. Just was poorly tracked by doctors early on in my life, and just kind of happened. So, um, yep. So you don't know what's ahead of you in life. You're playing with fire. So, uh, it really is about how you treat the least, because you could be the least. You could be the one who needs that help one day, and if you set up a system that does nothing but punish you for it, then that's the hell that you've created for yourself. So, for example, while this movie is largely about the experience of Black people, which I can't directly speak to because I don't know if I mentioned this at the top or not. I'm not Black, but we'll talk about the audio description in a minute. But if you set up a system that, you know, is against disabled people, for example, and then suddenly you become one, uh, and you realize how inadequate the system is, does the system really work? So if you think about that just from that perspective, and that's really sort of that's the inclusivity part of DEI. When you think about the diversity and equity and inclusion, when you think about what that is, just all it's trying to do is uh, level the playing field somewhat, help bring up people who are not usually brought to the table, give people voices who are not usually heard. And for some reason, we don't want that to happen. So I'm here to talk about audio description, which this movie does have. Actually, I watched this on Max for Black History Month. And I thought it was pretty decent audio description. It kind of just straight up tells you who's Black and who's white. It doesn't cut around it. It doesn't, it's part of the fabric of the film. So you get it sort of up front. The narrator is fine for drama because it's sort of a very flat performance, and it doesn't, like, it's not very intense or performative. It doesn't sound like it's trying to pull anything out. It tries to sound like it's being as neutral as humanly possible. It's not my favorite narration. If I'm being honest, like, we could have done maybe a little bit more. It's weird because I think this is a Warner movie, but it sounds like the narrator that Sony always uses, for like all of their movies. There's like this female narrator who I swear is like the only person that Sony hires. Um, and then like no one else because she's got plenty of work. Like she narrates all of Sony's movies. uh, so yeah, uh, I I think I didn't miss anything. Like I understood the contents of things. It picked up on facial expressions and reactions when they're really important. There's a thing that's unique about Tim Blake Nelson's character. Some things that had happened to him in the past. It kind of leaned into it, and then the film sort of explores it a little bit more through the dialogue. So I felt like it was enough without just um, focusing heavily on it. Sometimes you don't have the time to verbosely describe something. It touched on it, and then later on he talks about it more verbally. So it was acknowledged. It's just not fully in depth. Uh, so that was fine. Again, I think this is a fine audio description track. I think it's like good, not great. Like it just does exactly what it's supposed to do. I wouldn't signal it out for like achievement in audio description, but not every audio description track needs to feel like it's achieving an audio description. I like good. You know what I'm saying? I like above average. I like good audio description tracks. That should be what all of them are in general. And then every once in a while you can pick one out and say, "Ooh, this is excellence. Ooh, that one was a little bit better." It's like with movies. If all movies were good and none of them were bad, and every once in a while you just picked out one, you were like, "Oh, that one was truly special." That's kind of how I feel like audio description be. I hate going into audio described movies and then being like, wow, who's doing this? This is not good. This is inadequate. This failed here. This is not, we're missing a lot here. I don't know what's happening. I hate doing that because it's like, this is my accessibility, and it means that we've created accessibility that is inadequate, which is not a good thing because there's so limited accessibility to begin with. Um, So I'm happy with good. I'm perfectly fine with good audio description. So I think that's what this is. Anyway, I love Just Mercy, and I hope you get a chance to watch it. It'll probably piss you off if you have a heart and soul at all, regardless of what your race is. You're probably going to be angry at some point during Just Mercy for something that's happening to one of the characters on screen at some point. Maybe not every single thing, maybe some things, maybe. But if you walk through Just Mercy and you're coming out the other side and you're like, I don't know, I don't get it, check yourself. Please, please check yourself to see if you have a pulse. I'm giving Just Mercy an A. I love this movie. And I think, you know, I could talk about like a representation behind the camera, but I think Dustin Daniel Cretton, as an Asian American, has experienced his own forms of racism, I'm sure. And again, Brian, not Alexander, Brian, what is his last name? Anyway, the guy who which the film is based off of is a producer on the film, so he's fully aware of who the director is, and if he felt like Dustin was the best choice for this story, then he felt like Dustin was the best choice for the story. So, and as did everybody else, and the cast that's in this. Brie Larson's also in this, but I don't know that I mentioned that, but she really offers like nothing to this movie. I, I think she's here because she's worked with Dustin Daniel Cretton twice before on Short Term 12 and The Glass Castle. So, I think that's really the only reason she got cast, because her role really does nothing and brings really very little to the table. It's a very thankless role. It's the kind of role that somebody who is not Brie Larson, because as of 2019, she had already won the Academy Award for Room. So she's an Oscar winner in this role, and it's not the kind of role that has anything to it. Like there's nothing in this role. So she's just in this movie for Dustin. That's why she's here. Um, anyway, Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and hot takes, I know, but, that's what makes me different, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, uh, I remember inclusivity is not a bad word. It just is, it's, include, to include. You want to be included. Usually exclude is the bad thing. You don't want to be excluded from things. Jesus. Anyway, I hate that I have to explain shit like this now. And I'll see you guys on the other side.